It's kind of like, okay, I know you guys are here for the dinner. I know that part. And the raffles, yeah. But I was going through my mind is, what are some of the topics that you guys want to hear? So I came up with some questions. Let's see where this works. All right, my clicking not working?
Right. I don't know.
All right, it works on me. Test it. Just a second. Oh, perfect. Thank you. So these are some sort of the questions that I sort of came up with. So what I want to address is what we have accomplished since April, because that's the time that I take the position as the mayor. And I also want to talk a little bit about how is the city's financial status. What is the latest with that? And also because of the pandemic, what do we want to do to rebuild our city, right? What are our plans? And also want to talk a little bit about how do we support the housing needs that are being sort of the topic, in the state. And also want to talk a bit about the public safety. That is something that all the council members that we really care about. And as you can see in this room, we have a lot of deputies and as well as co-enforcement here representing, right? Public safety is a very strong topic in the city. Give them a round of applause. And also kind of want to end with, what are some of the fun projects that we have, in the city of Rome as part of our Primes and Recs. And also, at the end, want to kind of talk a little bit about how do we work closely with the community. All right. Okay. Since I took office, starting March 23rd, so at that time, the city wasn't open yet. So we were still under the order of closing up. So at that time, what we did was we worked really hard to keep the community informed of what was happening because of the pandemic. We make sure that all the information we got from the LA County Health Department, make sure we provide that to the residents. We update our website very frequently to make sure that everyone is informed. We continue with our city service, even though during that time we have limited hours, but we still were able to kind of provide as much as we can. At the same time, we really keep our Rosemead employee in mind, make sure that their health is very important to us. So we have limited hours, and at the time, we have walk-ins from 7 to 12, and if there are needed, people can also make appointments. So staff was available to continue to provide services to the residents. We also, at that time, we also did a lot of, we received actually a lot of PPE donations from different organizations. I mean, people were so generous at that time that I was constantly getting calls and say, hey, Polly, we have, a lot of masks and hand sanitizers. What should we do? And what we did was, it got to the point that, I think for the city itself, we actually have enough hand sanitizer. So what we did was we connected up with the LA Sheriff Department. We asked them if they need any. We connected up with the school districts and see whether they need any. And also we connect up with some of the businesses. So we passed those out to connect them out. And so I think that I just want to thank a lot of the organization that I want to thank them for their generosity. And also so we were able to kind of pass those PPEs to all the different organizations as well. We also partnered up with the Herald Christian Health Center. We spent 6 weeks. We provided a facility to them for them to provide COVID shots to many of the residents and also people, basically community members that nearby. It was a wonderful experience to really see we the city were able to provide this type of services. They were very helpful. They have a lot of volunteers, a lot of nursing students that came, volunteered their time, And at the same time, I got a lot of help from the different companies that were willing to help out to donate lunches to all these volunteers. So they were here for 6 weeks, and approximately each week there were approximately 2 sessions of giving shots, and so approximately there were like 12 days we were able to cover lunches for all those 12 days for them. So they were very, very pleased of what we can provide. And with that, actually, the money didn't come from the city's budget. It actually came from a lot of the companies such as Republic Services, Athens, Transect. They were one that, once I made a call, they were just like, I'm there to support. So once again, thank them for their support. We also partnered with the county supervisor. They had, it was about a month or 2 months ago. So they were doing a food distribution. So they asked us to partner with them. So we did. We worked with the Rosemead High School. So we were able to distribute good amount of food distributions to many of the residents. So it was great. So on June 21st, that's when we open up City Hall. So that's when we actually provide full services for the residents. Now, even before that, all the staff, they were actually working back in City Hall. Just that we just didn't open the sort of 4-hour schedule. But by the 23rd, we did. So people can come in and basically we provide all full services to them. So we come pretty much back to normal. So since then, we have held the strategic plan among the council members. This is for us to kind of plan ahead for the next many years. What do we plan to do? What do we want to see in the city? So we have worked on that. And also we're constantly assessing our financial situation in the city. And knowing that because of COVID, we definitely have impact on our financial situation. So with that, I wanted to kind of first explain a little bit at a high level of how does the city finance work. I'm not going to get into detail. One is because I can't. 2 is I don't want you guys to all go to sleep on that. So, and do we have a finance director? No, I don't see it. Good. So I want to do this first before I start getting into other details, is because I wanted people to have at least kind of a basic understanding on how the city operates. And that actually explains why we do certain things or why the city makes certain decisions. So kind of at a high level, the city revenue are based on different type of taxes. So about 76% of our general fund comes from sales tax. That's why you shopping in Rosemead is important. Property tax, your property value goes up, it helps. When you buy and sell property, that also helps. The Transient Occupancy Tax, that's what we also call TOT tax. That is when people come to City Rosemead and stay in like hotel motels, we get a special tax. So people like Palm Hotel, we care a lot about you, as well as any other hotel motels in the city. We also get franchise fees, such as utility, trash, the trash hauler. We get some franchise fees from them, and as well as cake. So these are not all. This list, I sort of want to give just a high level. These are not all the revenue, but this is the high level, at least the key numbers. We also get about 10% from our general fund from our permits, license, and fees. So what are they? They are like building permits. That is why we encourage development, because that's when we get building permit fees. Also, public works permits is whenever projects that they need to do stuff that's related to any type of public works, we also get permits fee from that. And also business license fee. We encourage to have business in the city so that, again, that's money comes into the city. Business in the city so that, again, that's money comes into the city. Now, those two items, those two kind of high-level items, so all this money goes to what we call the general fund, meaning that the city can use those money however, meaning that whatever projects that we see that is appropriate. The last category is what I call the special revenue funds. So those are sort of tax money that comes in the city, but those has very restricted usage, meaning that they have, there's definition of how you use the money. So the city staff have to understand how to use it and use it appropriately. For example, some of the proposition money, right? I think proposition M is one of them. When we get that money, from, because of proposition, we have, I guess people have to pay certain type of fee or tax. When that money comes in, those money is used for a specific purpose. We, the city, cannot just use that money to anything. Because sometimes I'll hear people say, oh yeah, we go for certain proposition, all the city wants is just to get money. Well, it's true, because that money can only use for a specific use. Okay, so those are the high level, that's how money comes in, and that's what's important. All right, so how is our health in our city? So because of COVID-19, we, of course, probably common sense, because we figure out, yes, there's revenue loss, right? Our sales tax is less because of less people shopping. Any of the building permit fee is less because people are not doing construction, everybody has to stay home. So there's quite a bit of loss there. However, this year we're able to adopt a budget that is actually balanced. So naturally things like, how did that happen, right? Well, it happened by doing several things. One is we do budget $1.5 million of American Rescue Plan Fund, which is basically federal money that they put aside for cities. Not for cities. Basically, there's a $1.9 trillion for general, basically, to help with this whole pandemic. And the city gets about, all the cities gets about, well, our city gets 17 point something million. So this 1.5 million is part of that we are pretty sure that we can have this money to basically cover the loss that happens in this last year. So in addition to that 1.5 million, the city actually have to do a lot of very conservative system, we call it. Meaning that staff will really look at, okay, if there were items that they have planned to purchase, equipments that they plan to purchase, they really look at, well, can we do without it for a year, right? So they have to do that assessment, and if they decided, yes, there are certain things that we don't have to do at this moment, they hold off and not purchase them. So that save money there. And also, because of the close down, we didn't have some of the events that we normally have. So for example, one obvious one is the July 4th event. So it's our Rosemead traditions that we always have July 4th parade, we have festival and all that. But I think people don't know that is actually by not having the event, we actually save like $68,000. So, like I said, those are fun events. We truly do it for the residents, right? Every year we budget for that because it's something that we want to do. But at the same time, when we don't do it, we save a lot of money there. So overall, because of the staff, they really kind of look hard and see how we can save money. Another thing that they also look at is, okay, well, because of the situation, they really look at are there positions that are vacant that normally that the city would feel that they will say, okay, well, maybe at this time we won't fill those positions yet. So with those sort of three big categories, we were able to come up with a balanced budget. In fact, there are $13,000 surplus. I have to say at this time that I want to give my city manager a lot of credit because she's the one that really had to work with the team and really, how we balance everything and the decision of what to purchase and what not to purchase. She has to take the brunt, that she has to take the responsibility. She had to make that decision. Now, you can say, hey, doesn't you council always don't you guys make decisions? We do. But, okay, look, we have council meeting twice a month. Do you really want every single decision to come to the council? If that happens, things will drag on a lot longer. And honestly, we pay the city manager is for her to make some of those tough decisions. And to me, it's because her and staff, they are really the professional, and they are the one that work at City Hall full-time every day, that they know what is going on. That they are the one that can really help us make the decision of what to buy, what not, and what positions to fill, and what not. So I want to give Gloria a lot of credit for really taking on this really tough year, dealing with the pandemic, and even after, to kind of help the city through really tough time. Please give her a round. Last I have on the list is we also received the Governance's Financial Officers Association Award. I swear, when I print this thing, I didn't realize that by the time I read it, there's such small print. But this is a very important award because this is the highest form of recognition in governmental accounting and financial reporting. So this is important because we as a city, we need to kind of make sure that our accounting is appropriate, our financial report is up to par, because that's all public record and we need to do the right thing. So our interim finance director is not here, but also her a lot of credit for doing it. All right, moving on to the next slide. All right. So this just kind of gave you a high level of our budget, what it looks like. I'm not expecting you to remember everything. So for our general fund, we basically have a 25 million. I'm just going to round up the numbers so easier. We have 25 million, and part of that 25 million is what I mentioned earlier. There's 1.5 million that is part of that. Basically, I consider as federal fund. That's what do they call American Rescue? Something basically money from the federal government. We'll take anything that they give, so we'll go with that. And for outstanding, as you can see, that we care a lot about public safety, and that's why we budget $11 million for the sheriff department and as well as our code enforcement. So basically, things that's related to public safety. For public works, it's $7 million. Parks and Recs, we budget $3.7 million. Our community development is $1.7 million, and there's $6 million is to cover, the city manager's office, city clerk, risk management, and human resource, and all the IT stuff. Okay, so I think that's very important spending. However, our challenge going forward that we continue to monitor is we do have to look at our long-term obligation. We do have to look at the increased cost of our employee pension, the increased cost of health benefits, as well as sometimes rising costs of liability and work comp insurance. So those are the things that we constantly have to monitor. We have to do the best we can to kind of bring down those costs, whatever we can do. So those are things we constantly have to monitor. Okay. All right. You guys all get the answer down now? Yeah. When I was preparing this, I'm like, okay, how do I get it so that I want to give people a little bit of understanding, but not so detailed that you guys all fall asleep, even though there's coffee there. Right, moving on. Okay, moving on is, so then I asked a question. I kind of asked myself, like, okay, all right, the pandemic is still somewhat going on, but it's not as bad now. Like, what do we plan to do? How do we rebuild this? So the important thing is, so far, we actually have like over 300 new businesses in the city. So some of the new businesses that we have experienced is we have Golden Delight. Actually, the dinner that you have tonight, actually we got it from Golden Delight. How was that, by the way? So I'm gonna do a plugging for Golden Delight. Delight is actually on Garvey. I don't remember the cross street. Willard. So is a wonderful story. Basically, it's quite an American story where this lady actually came from Vietnam and just this is her first restaurant. The food is phenomenal. So when you guys get a chance, go visit this place. Like I said, is she actually doesn't speak a whole lot of English either, but she's able to really just work hard. I mean, this is a truly hardworking story that these people and got her to this point. So it's quite amazing. Another hot item is the Dave's hot chicken. Have you guys been there?
Yeah.
I didn't know much about it when I asked my brother, because they actually invited us. When I asked my kids and my brother, hey, are you guys want to Dave's hot chicken? Immediately he's like, yes, I want to go. I'm like, oh, I guess that's a hit place. This is the one that over by the Parker Center. Yeah, my daughter's there, my son was there. They're all very excited about it. Another place is the Boston Lobster place, which I don't think is open yet, right? Yeah, not yet. So that one is coming. Okay. All right. So, well, okay, Polly, that's great. You have these new businesses. What else are you doing, right? So, what we are doing, we as council, we as city, there are certain things that we can do that we can help by setting certain policies. So, one of the things that during the pandemic, we sort of encourage businesses to keep them open. We ask them, hey, look at the location of your business. If you can do outdoor dining, we the city will support you. You just kind of come in, get the permit, we'll take a look and see what we can help. So at this time, actually, I asked several times, like, hey, Polly, we spent a lot of money to set up the outdoor dining. Are you guys going to let us keep that? And then I'm like, I don't know. Let me go back and talk to myself. Spent a lot of money to set up the outdoor dining. Are you guys going to let us keep that? And then I'm like, I don't know. Let me go back and talk to my staff. So, and we actually talk about it, and I think at the end we said, yeah, I think that's the right thing to do. Because honestly, we really don't know the right thing to do. Because honestly, and I think at the end we said, yeah, I think that's the right thing to do. Because honestly, we really don't know how this whole COVID-19 thing goes, right? It sort of has its ups and downs. Like we are seeing this is sort of getting better. We said I think it makes sense to have a streamlined process for this outdoor dining. I was gonna put a lot of info, but then I decided because I basically what I would say is, look, if you have a business that has outdoor dining during the pandemic, if you want to do it, just into the city hall and talk to staff. Because I think there are a lot more things that they have to look at, but we definitely have to come and you just have to pay the $25 inspection fee. There's no application fee. So just kind of come in. Don't get into it. So just come on in and we'll have the live work order people actually work from home, right? We no longer have their residence as their workplace. So I think it makes sense. So we've been kind of working that. We are changing amending our code to allow for that. So any of the new going to look at and see how we can include that calculation. Like instead, I think in the past we just strictly get, okay, this is residential, these are business. We're looking at some units that we're going to count them as live work, knowing that people will be living there, but at the same time working in the living place. So we, the city, that's the thing that we can do to help with some of these projects. Another things that we are looking at is this freeway corridor use overlay zone and now overlay zone. This is something actually Member Lee and now Mayor Pro Tem has been working on. So at a high level is they are looking at different areas in the city that is close to the freeway. Pro Tem has been working on. So at a high level is they are looking at different areas in the city that is close to the freeway. Identify those areas and be able to allow for like mixed use. And again, what we want to encourage is to encourage we are doing mixed use. But I kind of feel the mixed use definition is also a little more different, because in the past when we encourage people to do mixed use, our minding in the cities is we want to have more commercial, because we used to always say, oh, one more commercial so that we get more sales, right? Well, actually commercial doesn't work as well anymore, meaning that the developers have a commercial doesn't work as well anymore, meaning that the developers have a hard time of renting out commercial places, because a lot of them, or especially like office, they have a real hard time renting those out. So what we want to do is now our mixed use is more focused on the residential part. We understand that we still want them to have some commercial component, but I think the ratio needs to be changed a little bit, right, to kind of make more sense so that the product makes sense. So I think the focus in the city is on residential, right, to kind of, and then also help with our housing needs. Okay. All right, so those are all the things that we are doing as a city to kind of try to rebound from the pandemic, and the projects that we plan to do. So these are what we call capital improvement projects. It's basically kind of projects that we plan to do that you actually driving around the city that you see. Is, for example, like resurfacing the streets, some of the street improvement, as well as improvement of some of our park facility or basically our public facility. And also we are working on getting a park at Garvey Park. So those are some of the things that we will be doing. So here's just kind of some pictures that kind of the plan of what we plan to do. And want to show you that here are some of the projects that we have completed past year, and actually these projects were completed kind of during COVID. In our Rosemead Park walking trail, as well as the park renovation, or the restaurant renovation, and also we installed an air conditioning system at the Garvey Park gym. Okay. So once again, these projects were done during COVID, meaning that we have city staff that came in COVID time. They work it, they complete the project. Okay. All right. Talk a little bit about how do we support housing needs. Housing is important. We actually have some state demand that each city has to do, as we call reimburse. That basically the state said, hey, each city have a responsibility of zone for n number of units of housing for folks. And I think for the city of Rosemead, I think our number is 4,000 something. I didn't have a much. 4,600. So 4,600. So that is what city of Rosemead is sort of responsible for building. Is planning. We don't expect to have like 4,000 units up right away, but we're planning for that. So here's kind of want to show, here are some of the projects that we have in pipeline. Some are further along than others. I'm probably not going to identify them. Let's see what else. Miriam Shandeng has been working very hard on this the small lot subdivision ordinance that we passed. So thank you for doing that. So the difference is, I'm not sure when I'm in the audience, when people say, what the heck is this? Right? So the small lot ordinance, what it means is, in the past, before we have this, you would have a lot that's big enough to, let's say, build 2 units, right? And okay, so it's big enough for you to build 2 units. People go build 2 units. but it's under one parcel. It means that you can only have one owner. By having this small lot subdivision ordinance, it allows you to have to subdivide this lot into a smaller lot, meaning that you can have two separate owners. The nice thing with that is, meaning that you have two separate owners as ownership. Because sometimes what happens is when if you live in one and you rent the other one, then people take care of it as good. So it kind of encourage home ownership, which is a really good thing. Okay, so just kind of want to look through these are some projects. As you can see, we have quite a few projects coming down the pipe. Like I said, some are further along than others. Some are just as initial stage, just the planning stage. Some of these projects are actually ready for construction, and some are already in construction. So what I want to sort of excite you is see how many pages of this. So it's not bad for a small city like us, right? That it just shows that there are a lot of interest for people to come into our city to build. And the nice thing about having these new projects, one is it's really helped revitalize our community. I mean, we do have empty lots. We do have buildings that are really old, right? They don't look nice, right? When they just kind of stay there. But by having these new projects, it really kind of helps somewhat kind of stir up the excitement in the city. When there are other developers, hey, people are going into city roads, must be doing something right. Then we attract more development. Okay, so of course, development we really work hard to make sure we have smart development, right? So I think staff worked really hard to look at each of the project closely. At the same time, I always push for, we have to look at the project closely, but at the same time, we have to help them to speed up, to be able to, because really time is money, right? And we don't want to kind of hold up the project just for the sake of putting it up, right? We want them to move on as quickly as possible. Right, enough of development for the sake of we want them to move on as quickly as possible. Right, enough of development. Do we have any other projects out there people want to do? You're welcome to come quickly as possible. Right, enough of development. Do we have any other projects out there people want to do? You're welcome to come talk anytime. All right, next I want to talk about is what is the latest with the public safety? Statute to report is actually it's kind of my butt usually they share that sentiment, right? I find it is extremely annoying. And I kind of ask why. I really wanted to help, and actually some people annoyed the heck out of me. There are cases that are rejected by the DA office. Those cases could be narcotic sales or possession of it, or weapons to the deputies. I'm sure they are, and do the report. By the time it's sent to the DA office, actually this is part of them, is the zero bail, meaning that even though it gets to a certain point of the, they're not taking care of law enforcement people because they work really, really hard. They put their life on the line to catch these criminals. And what do? They come right back out and commit crimes. That is just not done. But law enforcement, I'll keep encouraging them because they work hard and they're not seeing the result. However, we need to continue to support them. They need to know that we are behind them no matter what. So once again, things like but they work really. Continue to let the criminal know that we, the city of Rosemead, we don't accept that. We don't just sit there and say, oh, you know what, it's okay for you to be there. No. They work hard to let them know that you guys these criminals are not welcome in our city. And they will continue to do that and will continue to support. I want to talk a little bit about the homeless assistance effort. The homeless situation is still kind of happening, right? So what we have done is the co-enforcement, they continue to engage the homeless population, work really hard to talk to them and kind of see what kind of services or resources that they need, and the code enforcement folks work with them and provide. Again, some of the code guys are, and code guys and ladies, code enforcement. Guys, was funny is that, your code guy, all they do is, and if you just come out and complain about my code, like complain about not following code. I said, no, look, these are the things that they do. Have to follow code, that's their job, right? But they kind of go wild and not follow, the city will be a very messed up place. So, this is something really extra that, all the code team, they work really hard to help the homeless. And also, all the code team, they work really hard to help the homeless. And also, we as city actually have a team. We do that just once a year. We do the cleanup once a month. We do it once a month. That we have a team that go out of Asian. So just want to address a little bit about Asian hates and incidents. So at least I'm happy to report for City of Rosemead, we we don't have any significant Asian hate crime. However, the city, we are very engaged and we work very closely, with the sheriff department. And we, the city, we will take this very seriously. If we hear any of these incidents, we are on top of it. So we definitely is in line with the sheriff department. But as a city, what we have done is, I know that there are other cities that have done like tonight. If you have some of these signs, please let us know. We'll definitely do some. So other than the signs, we also partner with the high school or the local school district to use through the art program. So I think staff came up with an idea having maybe like some sort of like art competition or poetry competition. I think it is important to start from the youth so that they understand that hey, we are American, right? It doesn't matter if you're Asian, it doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, we is all. I think it needs to kind of start. I thought it was really cool. Anti-hate that I put up in our at our Garvey Park. So it's a picture of that. I thought that was really cool. What happened to the mirror now? So yeah. With all that, I want to really thank our code enforcement team, our LA Sheriff Department. We have one kind of special acknowledgement that I want to introduce our Lieutenant Joe Hernandez. So Lieutenant Hernandez is our chief of police. And also want to introduce the Captain Mark Reyes. So I just want to say thank you for your leadership. I know the whole team, there's a lot of challenge for them. Have all this certain part. How much did we save? And I think we saved about 9 people. They are saved, and also make sure that the folks that are performing are saved. Right. So definitely we hope that next year. We do want to make sure, people attend the park, make sure that they are safe, and also make sure that the folks that are performing are safe, right? So definitely we hope that next year that we can do that. So again, I want to thank Parks and Recs. So we have a lot of like exciting things, even with COVID, that they're able to come up with programs. We have like the Easter egg hunt, so that happened. We have our second community garden. We are getting to work with the community. As you can see, we have done kind of just to do work with really different organization or vendors that they were so generous about giving a mask and hand sanitizer. I mentioned work with Herald Christian Health Center for providing COVID shots to residents and neighbors. Folks. So we continue to work with for providing COVID shot to residents and neighbors. Folks. So we continue to work with everyone. So So like I said, I mean, we want to continue to work with each of the businesses, the organization, in the city. We, as I mentioned earlier, I think on the table there is a community survey so that we can incorporate it in our strategic plan. So I think there are like, and then I think there's, so each of the tables has a QR code that you can take a picture of, and again, they're there. We also have events. Happens to the whole team that Ed is a good friend, and again, anything I call Ed, he's there. And I'll even say Ed is so great. I actually have called him about something in another city that they actually service. I'm like, Ed, can you go take care of that? And immediately he go and he took care of it for us. So thank you, Ed. We also have Hawaii Market. They're not here today. We have Pinnacle. Can we now? Pinnacle is a really corp. So back there. So we also have. Let's see. I know Lu. Hotel over here. Thank you so much. We actually, you guys have all the fun looks, right? So nothing fun cake. I swear, like I love that. When I heard that, they're doing, I go yes. So they are over at the Target Center, kind of right next to Starbucks. So please go by and get them business because they are great. We also have University of the West over here. And we have Shannon Fan. Thank you for Paul for all your support, Paul. All right. With that, let's see here. I also want to acknowledge some of the books before. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and before because I'm afraid of it. I do want to do a really special thanks to Roy. Really thank you for everything that you've done. You have been a great leader to your team. Really thank you for everything that you've done. You have been a great leader to your team. You have done a lot. How to say you have done a lot. Especially with this events on life. I swear, I don't think that they know that I was that picky when it comes to presentation. I want to thank her executive. And we're based. You saw. It was yesterday from 10:30 to 4:30. I made her work through lunch. So keep her around, boss. I swear. I really don't think that to be informative, even though I know it can be so boring. So thank you for bearing with me on this. All right, so that's to conclude my presentation. However, I want I'll do this first. So I have my list here. So I want to acknowledge first my family. I guess. He became so popular. My son Kevin. Interesting. Okay, so no question when she got that bottle of liquor. People go, she's 25 years old. So I'll make that clear. I'll let him out the age bar. All right. So I introduced the executive teams of our Rose staff to step in and wait because they have done a wonderful job. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything you guys do. You guys are wonderful. You guys see the sheriff department here, and also the folks. Stand up. All right, let's see, what else do I have? Us in the house? Our planning commissioner? No. Thomas Wall, and thanks, Thomas. Also want to acknowledge the team from Maribel, Steve, and your team for being here. I want to acknowledge Ray Jang, Ray from Lucio and and also acknowledge some of the folks from the West. I think I got almost everyone, Mindy, so thank you for being here. I got almost everyone. I got my planning commissioner, the planning commissioner and the electeds, right? They're the one that I have to. Okay, news about Rosemead. Please follow. Actually, I only my daughter said I'm in school, so we.